Welcome to the Heart-Centered Sales Leader podcast on webtalkradio.net. I'm your host and Heart-Centered Sales Leader, Connie Whitman. Thanks for joining us this week. Now, I hope every week as you listen to the show that, number one, you feel my passion. And of course, sales is my jam, but really, I am on a mission and trying to create a movement to change that word of sales of being icky, sleazy, and pushy to one of love, care, and respect. So join me on this mission. Share me with your peeps. Subscribe to the show, rate and review, and all those fun things that we get to do now on Apple Podcasts, and or if you like YouTube, I'm also there playing live for you with my videos. So join us on those platforms. So my motivational quote for today is by Coco Chanel. And Coco says, "An interior is a natural projection of your soul." Now, during 2020, did you have to shift and create a workspace at home? Maybe even the bigger disruption to some of you, did your whole family find themselves at home where you were sharing that coveted Wi-Fi signal? And so what did you come up with for your best solution and for your family solution? Did you turn dining rooms into office spaces, kitchen counters maybe into school zones, and maybe even a closet, you snuck a desk in there? Whatever and however you've managed it, I have a great guest for you today who's actually going to provide some awesome solutions to your home and office space so you can live stress-free as we continue to navigate the pandemic going into 2021. Now, my guest today is Emma Auriemma, and Emma is an architect and interior designer and is known as a homeowner's dream home manifestor. And the realtors, she's home manifestors and the realtor's architectural advisor. With her design service, she helps homeowners find space in their current home so they can be productive and live in joy and peace while expressing who they are and how they live. We all need her to live next door to us. And in 20 years of working with her clients and her experience of flipping homes, she realized that homeowners need guidance through the journey of remodeling. That's why she created the digital program, Ultimate Home Remodeling Blueprint. She also hosts the Real Estate Professional podcast and the podcast Stress-Free Remodeling. And she's a publisher, and she published the #1 bestseller, Homeowner's Guide to Stress-Free Remodeling. She's a busy woman. Both resources prepare you for the remodeling process, to work with your architect and find the right team that is most importantly, they will help you avoid costly mistakes. So please help me welcome my wonderful friend, brilliant architect and home space person, Emma, to the show. So Emma, thanks for being on.
This is my pleasure. Kind of great to be here with you.
Yes. That introduction, you're freaking brilliant, girlfriend,
Thank you.
And so, have you been on speed dial with your clients with the pandemic in 2020 and really shifting home into offices, multiple offices?
Well, it's kind of just starting now because this happened so quickly and people didn't think this was going to last for very long. So it's still a lot of makeshift things going on. And, now that we're looking to a longer term, people are now starting to rethink what's going on in their home. In fact, one client called, we're on Zoom calls, and she kept, saying, "Do you hear that? The kids are bouncing around upstairs and there's making noise." So I did a little research for her, and she's going to get some sound panels to put on the ceiling so it doesn't distract her. So there's lots of little things like that you can do to, cut down on some of the distractions, because I'm lucky we don't have kids in the house. It's just my husband who gets on the phone and is really loud. I have to block him out. But, we have enough space to move around and we don't have to worry about that. But my stepdaughter and her family, they've got a challenge with 2 kids on the computers doing remote schooling, and then the 2 of them working. So I know it's a challenge.
I don't know how, my kids one is in college, one's graduated. So I don't have that homeschooling issue. These young working moms and dads, I give them just so much credit. It's funny when everything happens. In my bedroom, I have an alcove, and we had set it up for my husband's desk so he can do work, from there if he had work from home kind of stuff before the pandemic. So thank God he's up there. I'm down in my office because, of course, I have a home office. And then my son was home from college. So all of us on the Wi-Fi, I was getting booted out of meetings, recordings were staggered. So my husband, I have a 3-floor home. My husband had these 100-foot wires connecting us to the back of the Wi-Fi so that he didn't, because he kept getting booted out on tests, and you can't have that. They wouldn't let him back in. It was a nightmare. So just these little things that you've never thought about all of a sudden became an issue for us. And you're right, they're not going away anytime soon. So let's be creative. And it was funny, you said you had the friend that the kids are bouncing around and she can hear thump, 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 right? And but we see, like me, not being an architect or a builder or have flipped houses or any of those kinds of things, I wouldn't know that there's even something out there that can help with that type of insulation. So see, that's why, my thing is sales, but we all have our zone of genius. So we need to learn to leverage people that we need to help us with these different things that are happening in our life. So my first question, you say you want people to think of their home with a new perspective. So just, can you elaborate a little bit on that, on what you mean?
Yeah, now we used to think of our home, it's such an emotional attachment. It's our security, it's our pride and safety. And, now we used to like sleep and eat in it basically. And, we had weekends here, but now it's functioning in a whole different way. Mm-hmm. And I think we are getting to appreciate our home. And, there's so many subtle things about it, or the light quality we have, how the floor plan flows, and special features in it, like a fireplace. So it's just appreciating your home in a different way and noticing those subtle things about it. And if it's not making you feel good, then you might want to switch things around and make it so it feels good. Because there used to be statistics that we spend 95% of our life in home, and 75%, it was 75% in our home, 95% indoors. And now I think it's pretty close to 95%. So, we want to have some diversion, and that's one big thing we're missing right now. We used to go to our office, or we used to go to a restaurant or a coffee shop. So we don't have any diversity in our home. So maybe we can think about making some interesting wall features, putting some, like a 2x1 paneling on the walls. You can make designs, you can put a chair rail, paint different colors. So, just add more interest to your home instead of just having 4 flat blank walls.
Absolutely. It's funny you said fireplace. We downsized 2 years ago once the kids were in college, and we had an acre of land that we weren't using, and it was a money pit, right? Because you're spending all this money outside and we weren't using it. So we downsized into this townhouse. Now my other house, I had a gas fireplace and I loved it. In the winter with my little herbal tea at night to help me sleep. I think it's called Sleepy Time, with the fireplace and, watching some movies or whatever it is to release, to get the mind to slow down. I lost that here. So we bought actually an electric fireplace, but it didn't fit in my living room. So I have it actually down in my office here. And now, like before the recording, it makes a little bit of noise when it generates the heat. So I shut it because I didn't want it to pick up, the background noise here. But I have it on, and I have to tell you, it makes me cozy and calm while I'm working. So what you just described, I thought, yes, for me, it's my little fireplace, and I get such pleasure out of it that it creates a different mind shift. And I think that's what you're talking about. And it doesn't have to be anything elaborate or expensive either, right, Emma?
No, those electric fireplaces you could probably get one and install it for about $1,000, I'll say, because you can cut a hole in the wall and install it, and you have that immediate ambiance. And I think that's another thing about working at home. There might be some distractions, which I think, we'll handle down the line, but still that feeling of being connected with the outdoors. If in our offices, a lot of people are working in cubicles and they don't really have connection with the outdoors. So now they're home, they can go take a breath of fresh air, They can use outdoor spaces when it's
Yes.
nice outside. So there's a lot of flexibility, which you didn't have when you were going to the office every day and then saving all the time commuting. But like you were saying, little adjustments like that can make a difference. I think now too, I'm listening to some of the builders associations talking about what's coming up, how things may change design-wise in new homes, and they're talking about smaller or having the homes divided like they used to be, having a dining room, having a kitchen, instead of
Really?
these open floor plans. Personally, I hope they don't do that because I love the open space. I've had in my career working on big hotel projects, there was always ballrooms and meeting rooms, and we had movable partitions, walls, which are soundproof and everything. If you have the right conditions, you can do that in your home. So when you're, during the week when you're working or, after work, you can move the partitions and you have your wonderful open space. And there's even sound curtains that are available too. It's more industrial, but I think those products are going to be coming into the residential world. So there's
Absolutely.
those kind of things so you don't have to build walls. Please don't do that. Keep that wonderful open space.
It's so true. It's so funny because, the townhouse, this is fairly new. So it's this very vast, big open space you could see from one end of the house to the other. And, we hosted Thanksgiving for my in-laws, for my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law. And she had never seen the house. And she walked in and she was like, oh my God, because it's so expansive, because it goes... you could see from end to end. It's beautiful, the light that comes in, and you can really have your decor match with even, different colors on the walls. So to segregate the space, yet that visual line, I love an open floor space.
Yeah.
And the other thing, because we had an old 50s ranch that we renovated and we made more open concept, but it was still not like this. And the other thing I love with the new construction are the super high ceilings that the older homes really didn't have. So it's funny how you appreciate what I had in my other house, what I have in this house. But I love how you said that. Look around and see what makes you feel or what makes you look and go, oh, I love that fireplace, or I love that, column, or I love the way my house you can see from end to end, and find that feel good because we are spending so much more time at home. So talk and share with us, how can we find extra space in our existing homes where we are finding potentially 2, 3, 4, even 5 people, whether it be work or school, but we're all between that 9 to 5, we're working in some regard. How can we find that space to be able to navigate and function?
Yeah. Well, most people have a guest room. That could be a great workspace. And you can, in a sense, eliminate the bed. There's, they call them Murphy beds, where they fold up to the wall. So during the day and when you don't have a guest, you can have a large work area. That's, some of it just using different kind of furniture like that. You can even use a laundry room. Most laundry rooms have a countertop already. So just use a stool, or if you feel like, taking out some cabinet space and making a desk height, that can work. Even if you have a pantry that's a good size, you clear off a shelf and a child can put their little computer on there and have a whole quiet, like little cubby room for their space. Another space you can look at if you have stairs. On ours, we have a wine cabinet and a closet. If you knock out some of those walls, that could be a nice little work area too that you can even close off when you're done with it. And some projects that I've worked on, people have kind of funky little hallways that have a lot of unused space. So kind of look at what's going on. Rearranging that area can make a whole another workspace or study space. One project that I worked on, we ended up making a laundry room, a desk area, and a larger pantry in that same area. So it's, look at your plan and see if there are any unused areas that you can reuse.
Yeah, and somebody had told me they took a closet. I think it was in a guest room, so there's no clothing in there. And they took the doors off and they put like cabinets above so that they could put staplers and paper and stuff like that. And then you go to Home Depot and you could buy the desk and filing cabinets underneath, and all of a sudden now you have this really wonderful space. And then if guests do come over, you just you could close the doors or keep the doors off and put a curtain over it even, and then you still have the bed or whatever. So there's so many ways we can be creative. And but here's the thing, Emma, I don't know that, because we don't have that design background, that it's hard for people to visualize how to use a space that's currently a closet, or how to use a space that's currently a laundry room. So they were just great ideas with minimal modification, fairly inexpensively. We really can create a work area, but that we can close off. So at the end of the day, we're not looking at a desk with paperwork or computers or the kids' work if they were in the middle of a project or something, because that becomes unsettling then in your house, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's something we have to get used to, is keep a schedule like we used to at work. We left work at home and came home sometimes. But it's, having those same routines and having a break and spending time with your family or some kind of hobby or whatever you like to do. So that's important too. One thing I wanted to go back to, Connie, was talking about light quality. If you can have a workspace with some natural light and a window, it's so great, because there's been studies actually that having connection with nature and the outdoors can actually increase your productivity and also your wellness. So, if that's possible, work near a window. And lighting is so important too, because when it does get dark, if you do have to work, you want good task lighting, for kitchens. Pendant lights, if you have an island, are used. So when you're working, and now on Zoom too, you want to make sure you're lighted well, so you look good. So there's lots of things online that you can get for working and having good light on you. So that's important too. And also, just one more, there's so many levels of light that you can create in your home. Again, we were talking about diversity and having really a nice ambience in your home, that most of us have ceiling lights. Another way, and you can dim them to give a different light quality, there's wall sconces that, if you're watching TV, that can give a nice glow. So keep in mind the different kinds of light quality that you can have, even when it's dark.
It's true. And like my living room at night, when my husband and I are trying to, chill, we have like a little lamp on a cabinet. And that's the only light we have, because you want to start to slow your body down. So I don't want all of the lights on, and we keep the light over the kitchen sink on, and that's it. In case you have to go get water, but I don't keep all the lights on because you're trying to wind down at night. The other thing I wanted to comment on, and I don't know if you were on the call, we both work with a gentleman named Michael Neely. Shout out to my Michael. He's my business coach anyway. I think I depend on him way too much, but which is funny, right? A business coach hiring a business coach, right? Stay in your lane. We need to hire people. But the sun, I have a double window here, and then I have a slider there that goes out to a patio. And the light was coming in. He goes, "Wow." I go, "I know, I look angelic." With the sunbeams coming in, it was kind of funny. That I definitely feel this, my office here versus my other house, is much brighter. I have much more natural light. I have the ability to walk out. We have 4 Adirondack chairs on this little patio. So in the summer, my husband, who's now working from home also, will either go on the deck or down here, and we'll just take a half hour and just chat, decompress, relax. That's our lunch break, eat a yogurt or whatever, and then go back to work. That was amazing for me, which I never did in my other, because my office wasn't near the deck or anything. So I just worked, you think working, the nose to the grindstone. So it's funny how those little shifts really do magnify from a production standpoint. So I'm glad you mentioned that as well. I wanted to comment, because I felt that from my old office to this office. So it's fascinating. Those little subtleties can make a big difference.
And you can do that in your home, which is great. We're gonna miss that if you go back to the office.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and another thing too, I wanted to mention that another big movement in new building is I think everyone's heard about LEED, being sustainable building. There's a big movement now for indoor wellness. It's a wellness building standard, and that has to do with your indoor, mostly air quality. You know how we've been so used to reading labels on our food. I think we're going to start paying more attention to labels on our materials that we use in our home, flooring, paint, even furniture, because some fabrics and furniture things give off VOCs, which is volatile organic VOCs, compounds, volatile organic compounds, which are toxins to us. If you've gone into a new office building, or I used to go to the design center where they have all the fabrics, I used to get itchy eyes and
Wow.
sneezing and all kinds of stuff. And we don't realize how that can affect us. So it's simple things like changing your HVAC system, the filters. And out west here, we had a horrible summer with smoke. And
Yes.
So doing that is important. And there's even devices that can help clean your air quality, to help you keep healthy. So, that's another thing to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, and especially like you said, we're spending more time indoors now. Like we're entering the winter here, right, in New Jersey, so it's cold. Like it's been just, freezing out there, literally sub 32 degrees. So who wants to go out in that, and it's windy and it's cold. So you run to food, to shop right in your home. It's not like we're doing anything outdoors. So I know by you, it's probably a little bit more tempered climate that you could go outside longer than we can. No?
Well, it's different. We don't, without the humidity, it's cold, but you can walk out in a t-shirt almost. So, but we get snow, so we're not all that temperate.
Yeah,
we have
see,
good 4 seasons. So.
Yeah, which I love. I love the 4 seasons personally. Yeah. So let's take a step back. We're working from home. We find our workspace where we can set it up. What are some of the key things that you talk about? So that, yes, while we're working, but it also makes us feel really good so that we can function at that higher level. Are there certain ways to position furniture or any recommendations like that so that we work, but we feel good, not drained by the end of the day?
Yeah. Well, in an office situation, they always say to face the door. That's your kind of power position. But at home, you're not so worried about power. You're facing your computer, so that's in a sense your power position. So you want to pay a little attention what's behind you. So you can buy standing screens to have something interesting behind you, or if you're lucky enough to have bookshelves or something of interest, you can do that. I was just looking at online, they have backdrops for photographers, but it's kind of like a clothes stand in a sense, and they have different kinds of draperies or fabrics that you can hang behind you to have a nice background. So that's kind of important to keep a professional image, and even, if we want to talk about fashion, same thing about keeping up our routines, ladies, if you put your makeup on when you have a meeting. For me, that makes me feel a lot better, and gives me that
Absolutely.
kind of empowerment. And also the light quality, like we were talking about earlier. There's little ring lights and all kinds of things that you can get. So many people I talk with who are on Zoom all the time have the worst lighting. People that I've interviewed too, and it's like, I can't believe you're doing this. You can hardly see their face.
Yes.
So again, to give you that professional presence, you want to be well lit. So I think that's a couple ideas.
No, yeah, that was great. It was funny. I have the little O-ring, so and sometimes I forget to shut it off. And my husband will go, "Are we still working?" And I'm like, "Oh, I forgot to shut it off," right? Because you get up and you leave. But absolutely, the lighting matters. And the other thing I find, again, to show up more professional, people are on Zoom, and all you see is from the nose up. Just make sure the computer height should be eye level, and I have a lifter on my laptop, so I'm using my laptop computer, but it's on a little lifter so that it's eye level with me, and you can adjust it. I'm 5'11", so if you're 5 feet, you can certainly drop it down. But that's another thing, so that you're not just eyebrows up or nose up. It looks silly, so you do want these little things. And it was Amazon. I think I paid $30 for it. It's not like anything we're recommending here is super, super expensive, but it makes a difference, especially because we all of a sudden now we're home and we don't have that fluorescent lighting and all of these components that office space thinks about, where we don't think about that in our home. Some of the ideas you mentioned of finding space may cost to make those changes, right? And everybody, we're all afraid to make the changes and what it's going to cost. How can we know what to expect or what resources so that people can manage the dollar, right? Because that's a concern now still with COVID as well.
Yeah, there is a website called Cost versus Value, I believe. And it's mostly major projects like redoing a bathroom or taking a wall. Well, actually, I don't think they have taking a wall out, but there's some smaller update projects that can give you an idea of the cost. And it's divided up wherever you are. The country is divided up into different regions, and the prices slightly change. And that's going to give kind of a rule of thumb. Well, actually, I can give you a rule of thumb. It would be cost per square foot, which I would say for most places in the U.S. about 200 square feet, $200 a square foot, and that can vary. And then times the area, width times width, the area that is going to be remodeled. That would be like for a kitchen or so, but that can go higher because of appliances and things like that. That'll give you a general rule. If you're taking a wall out and need structure, that can go, again, depending on how length it is, but could be from $5,000 to $15,000. That's a lot of.
It's a lot more work.
Yeah, because you'll need a structural designer, engineer. You'll need permits and a lot of structure. So it's going to cost a little bit more. But that's just some general costs. To do what we were talking about, making a space under the stairs. I don't know. $500, maybe $1,000.
Sure.
With putting some tabletops in and getting some more electricity to that area. So, that kind of thing we were talking about wouldn't cost very much.
So now, what is the biggest mistake you see people make? Like you just said, taking the wall out under the stairs, right? So in essence, it's a closet, right? You remove that wall and then you put some lighting in, electric and whatever. It's not that much money. What are the biggest mistakes that you see people do with these? They're mini renos, right? They're mini renovations, but they're necessary for us to be able to function better in our homes, given the state of what's going on, right, with COVID. So what are the biggest mistakes that are pitfalls where you tell people, don't do it?
I think mostly that they don't do it, that they're too afraid, of the cost. They're going to get ripped off by the contractor, or they don't want anyone in their home right now. But I think most people, where people are taking really good precautions about being safe. Talking about that, actually, there are companies that have really good, I'll say, disinfected processes that you can do to your home to keep really safe if somebody's at high risk. I just interviewed somebody who does that, and it's really eye-opening, because he was talking about how you'll see products on the market that aren't really efficient, and that when you use them, they need to dry like for 10 or 15 minutes. And not to be wiping one surface and go somewhere else and wipe another one. So I would look into that too. But it's things like maybe people doing a DIY. We were talking about a place that an empty hallway, and they don't really understand how to do it, and they can miss out on more opportunities. So that's why in my book, and I always suggest to just a consult with a professional, because you can get probably a lot more out of your project than you could.
And I said it on the onset, Emma, when we first started the show, like, you're an expert and you think, oh, you can do. And, I'm not an expert. I'll be like, oh, I never thought of that. But why would I? That's not my zone of genius. That's your zone of genius, right? Architect, designer, all of those things. You live and breathe and see. Plus, you're reading those magazines. What are the new innovations in the marketplace? I'm not, because that's not what I do for a living. So I believe in always hiring professionals to help you do things, because you don't know what you don't know. And those blind spots could become not only time time wasters, but extremely costly in the long run. And or you can, fry your house. Like if you're not good with electric, please hire an electrician. Number one, you don't want to zap yourself, but you don't want to put your house on fire. Like there's certain things that I believe we should hire people for. If you're not already an expert in that, whatever that is. So yeah, agree 100%. Do me a favor. Is there anything else we should consider when making changes? That's my first question, because I do want you to share your book.
Okay. Well, I think like we were just saying, it's so important to have an expert's eye on your plan, because so many projects I was asked to, I talked to some people about a plan, and they had drawn up a plan, and it was like, okay, I hope you don't build it this way. They were wasting so much space on a hallway, on an exterior wall, a hallway. And then the room was next door. So the room was missing out on all that light potential. So of course I rearranged everything. But I mean, like you were saying, that's not their genius zone, and it's not what they're used to doing. So and there's so many possibilities of doing one project. There was a project I was working on where we were taking 2 bedrooms, and one was basically going to become the master bath and the closet. And for that area, there was 5 different ways. So you can have all these different options that you probably never would have thought of. You would have had, a usual arrangement that you're used to, but there's so many maybe better options. So that's why, talking to a professional can really help you expand your ideas.
Well, think about it. If you show me 5 ways to convert the 2 bedroom into the master bedroom, the bathroom, and a walk-in closet, right? I'm thinking one way, and all of a sudden you show me 5 different ways. I can then visualize which will work best for my husband and I, right? Where the bathroom should be located, or based on windows in the room, whatever. So you're right. There's things you won't be able to see because we're not experts in it. It was funny when my old house, we did a huge renovation. We added about 1,000 square feet, created an open concept, huge office for me, again, gourmet kitchen, the whole thing, and huge dining room because I wanted to be able to have and host, 40 people in my family sitting down, at the same time. Anyway, my cousin is an architect in Manhattan, and I said to him, this is what I want, and, basic, and my builder was like, yeah, I could do it. But my cousin said, just let me write up some plans for you, Con, right? And he did. He sent them to me. I opened them. I remember, it's so funny how you remember these moments, right? I called my husband. Oh my God. He goes, what? I go, the plans came. I go, our house is going to be beautiful, because he put stone in the front with like a peak and, and round windows and where the kitchen was going to be. I wouldn't have asked for that. I didn't even think of that. So after he positioned everything, it was stunning. So my little house, right, I couldn't visualize that. So again, getting those experts, they can use space more wisely. They can make the recommendations. So aesthetically, you do what you got to do, functionality, but they make it look so darn beautiful. So that was such a great experience. But yes, when you just said that, I had no idea, right? I had no idea. So we need to leverage people who do have that for their expertise. Share with everybody your amazing book.
Oh, yeah, it's really fun. It's, if you are going to do a remodeling project, you really want to be prepared. And, my kind of tagline is stress free remodeling. Our industry laughs at that, but it's the more you know, the more you'll be prepared, and you won't lose it. And it's a very simple process. It's very exciting, and that's what I want people to enjoy. Not to get stressed out. So it starts by having you understand what you really want. And if you're working with a professional, they're going to ask you lots of questions so they can, make the space, create the space that you want. Do you want small, little cozy spaces, or do you want big, lofty spaces? So there's a lot of levels to consider. Like we were talking about, do you like a lot of light, or do you like it less light? So, really understand what you want, and they'll help you, as they interview you, really understand how your family functions, which is important. And then
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And then the next thing is, what everyone's concerned about, the budget. What I gave you that rule of thumb, I go through some of that with the budget, and, you can do some homework. It's giving you some guidelines for that. And then it's also talks about how to hire your professionals. There's a list of questions that'll help you interview somebody. And, the most important thing is you want to like them and trust them. So that's a big component too. And then lastly, kind of wrapping up the project, or during the project too, there's, again, lots of possibilities that you may not have seen on the floor plans. That don't be afraid to change. You're the boss, so you can make changes. There is sometimes the cost attached to it, but you don't want to be living with something that's annoying, before you're finished.
Absolutely.
So keep that in mind. And, it's just going through the whole process so that you can be prepared and enjoy it. In fact, I have a digital program too called the Ultimate Home Remodeling Blueprint that you mentioned, and that goes through kind of step by step. It shows you what the architect will do with you, for you.
Nice.
Why all of a sudden you're writing checks and you're not having anything going on, because there's a lot of coordination with all the other professionals involved, and then the permit and all that. So it just prepares you for the cost, how to hire the right team, and so you can be in control and have a fun process with it, because it's exhilarating, and
it should be
accomplishment,
yeah
right?
It should be exhilarating, because you're going to have this new beautiful home after the renovation. It should be an extension of you and your personality. I don't know if you watch Ben and Erin. They're on Hometown, I think, on HGTV. I just love them. I think they're amazing. But she does a whole questionnaire, and she'll ask questions like, what's your favorite time of year and why? And you think, what? So she has this questionnaire to get into the persona of the person so that she could bring those elements into her design. And I just love that. Like, if you're a whimsical person, she tries to bring that whimsy. If you love the Moroccan kind of color vibe, she tries to bring that into her design, even if it's in a subtle way. So, there's so many wonderful people out there who can really create the space that will empower you and make you feel so alive. And, most of my listeners are business people, business owners, professionals. So now that we're all working from home, I hope that these ideas that you shared, so many, that it gets them thinking, maybe that would be a good project. Maybe we could change that section of the finished basement into an office, whatever it is. But I highly do recommend, one more time, share the name of your book, Emma, please.
Homeowner's Guide to Stress-Free Remodeling.
I love the stress-free remodeling too. But you said a couple of keywords: be prepared, know what to expect, have a plan, and then enjoy the ride, right? Yeah. So I feel once you're prepared and in control, as much as we can be in control, you can enjoy the experience. Go ahead. You were going to say one more thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the book too, there's 4 other resources. One thing people don't think about is sometimes you can get tax rebates and energy rebates, depending on what you're doing. So that book will give you clues, and there's resources and links to all those resources in there too. So if you are going to do something, keep that in mind. Look into that to see if you can, in a sense, pay for some of your remodeling.
It's wonderful. Great idea. Now, one last thing. You have a free gift for everybody. Can you share what that is? And I will post all of this in the show notes, but can you quickly tell us what that is? Because we are out of time.
It's called, Connie, I forgot what I called it.
I forgot what you called it. I don't have it up because it was the PDF. Go ahead.
I'm trying to think. It's a checklist to see if in your home these kind of qualities that can help you enjoy your home better, be more functional, so you can be more productive and enjoy your home.
So it's a checklist, guys. It's free download. It'll be in the show notes. Please check it out. And again, Emma's book is all about stress-free. Sign me up for stress-free. We have enough stress in our life. And now that we're working from home, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, because we need to continue to function and make money, guys, right? And pay for the bills. We're just doing it out of our home. So I hope that Emma's ideas just shared some light. And, the kids, the schools are opening and then they're closing again. So hopefully we could create these workspaces for everybody in the family so that your kids can get A's in school, hopefully, and we could continue to bring paychecks home and work in an effective way without losing our minds. And your whole stress-free approach, I think with all these ideas and tips, Emma, are just so important. So thank you so much for sharing and being on. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, Connie, and I hope that helps everyone.
Oh, I'm sure it will help me. I'm thinking of a million things now. My husband would be going, don't talk to Emma again. Because I have too many things I want to do. If you'd like to reach out to Emma, a couple of ways to do that. And again, I will post this in the show notes. Emma's email is Emma Auriemma. Emma, I always want to hesitate because I want to say right. So Emma Auriemma at msn.com. I promise I'll put it on the show notes. Go to her website, Auri Emma Design. So Auriemma Design, auriemmadesign.com, or easier is stress-free. This is easier for Connie Whitman here. Stress-free remodeling.com is another way to reach her. So reach out, ask her questions, buy the book. Please download the free gift. Again, I do appreciate that for my listeners. And if you need a little more Connie in your life, which I hope you always do, please go to whitmanassociates.com. I have a ton of free resources on my website, free communication style assessment, my book, my master classes, you name it, it's there. And again, if you have questions for me, you can contact me through that as well. And I do respond to all my emails directly. Emma, thank you again for being on and just sharing so much, I hope, valuable information for everybody listening.
Great. Thank you, Connie.
My pleasure. And I hope you guys will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together that heart-centered sales can easily help you grow, allowing you to embrace sales and realize that shifting your mindset, my movement, remember, to be that heart-centered professional is possible. And guys, it's so much easier than we often think. Thank you for tuning into Heart-Centered Sales Leader Podcast with me, your heart-centered sales leader and host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.net. Have a wonderful week and open your minds to the client relationships that are possible as you become the heart-centered sales leader that you're destined to be. I'm excited and honored to have you on this journey with me, and I will see you guys all next week. Thanks so much, everybody.